really surprised how much good stuff was written about gratitude. If I'd seen all that, I would have just said, I'll skip talking. In fact, maybe I did and I should. When I started sitting down a couple days ago and decided what I was going to, I asked God, I prayed, and then I asked God where he wanted me to go with this. I started doing a gratitude list immediately, and within about 45 seconds I was sobbing. It went from a place where I was just thankful that I had fuzzy socks and a warm bed and a roof over my head and an amazing relationship with a woman and a host of people around me, to recognizing that the very things that I was grateful for had come from him. And when I started thinking about that, it brought me to a place of so much gratitude that I was sobbing. And used to be embarrassed when I would sob. I thought it was sadness or something, and it was something that I should be ashamed of. I don't know if anybody else had that struggle. It looked like a sign of weakness when I was a kid. You can't make me cry, stuff like that. And but when God does it to me, it transcends me to a different place. It brings me to such a place where I'm in him and he's in me, and I feel like it doesn't need to get any better. Nothing needs to get better. Everything is exactly as it should be. The only problem is it didn't last. I still had to get in my car and drive somewhere that afternoon, and it wasn't very long before I was upset with some of his creations. Like, come on. Anyway, when I looked up gratitude on Google, it said gratitude is consistently associated with greater happiness. Anybody ever want greater happiness? Anybody not want greater happiness? Okay. How about positive emotions? Anybody want positive emotions? Relishing good experiences. People that practice gratitude relish good experiences. It improves our health. Makes you live longer and feel better while you're living. It's better to deal with adversity if you're in gratitude. Never thought of that. It builds stronger relationships. This isn't God's world. This is psychologists that have said, wow, what does gratitude do? And come up with all these things. It increases your energy. Gratitude increases your energy? No, that's meth. Having more patience. Not doctor and patience, but having patience. We were just talking about patience last night. Gratitude, and you end up with more patience. It allows us to gain a different perspective. What in the heck? Did you think that would be?
There's signs in the bathrooms at Kaiser about gratitude can do great things to your emotional well-being. I'm like, and now they're putting it in the bathroom at the doctor's office. I'm like, how novel.
So you can meditate on it while you... Okay. Is it in the stall or by the sink?
I don't remember exactly. It was just seeing it at a hospital about things like that have put up a sign about what gratitude can do for you. Yes.
Good idea.
That's good.
It also increases optimism, gives you a more positive attitude. 1 Thessalonians 5:18, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. And the part that really stood out to me in that one was in all circumstances. So he doesn't mean that we look outside and it's pouring down rain and it's really cold and you don't have a coat. You just say, isn't it great that it's raining and I don't have a coat? No, you say, isn't it nice I don't have to go outside right now? So find something to be gratitude about. Not make up stuff. Not falsely decide, okay, if I gotta do a gratitude list, thank God I had an asshole for a dad. Go on.
We'll blurb that out.
But I think we just did. But to really stretch and find something to be grateful for. And I remember when I first came in, this guy used to ask me when I'd walk in the door, and he'd look at my sour face, and things weren't going well. I'm living in the barn. It's not working out too well with anything. At work, I'm on my last leg. Finances, I'm in trouble. My wife doesn't want me. Kids are scared of me. Truck only had one windshield wiper that worked, and one of my tires was leaking, you know, stuff like that. And I could focus on all that stuff, and I was just a wreck. And I was looking for some way to die. And he would always see me and say, Dave, can you give me a couple things you're grateful for? And he said, can't think of anything. You see, I said, it's raining, it's cold, sleeping in the barn, blah, blah, blah. And he'd say, does that truck you're driving have windshield wipers? And I said, well, it has one. He says, well, thank God. He says, does it have a heater? Yeah. Thank God. Tires holding air? 3 of them. Thank God, you know, and so after a while I would start to practice something before I walked in there, because he'd always ask me. And so then I had something to say, something to be grateful for. And I didn't even realize it was changing me yet. I didn't realize what that guy was trying to give me. He was trying to give me a gift that would carry me for the rest of my life. And I had no idea. In Matthew 13:16, blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. It's simple, right? But when was the last time that I thanked God because I could see, or thank God that I could hear? You take my eyes from me, oh man, I'll be praying, hey! But when was the last time that I stopped and thanked him for my toenails that protect my toes when I stub them? Or my taste buds that makes dinner exciting? Or that thing inside of me that goes off when Kennedy runs around the corner? What is that? Where does that come from? It came from the heart of God. Everything that's good came right from him, and he wants us to know it, and he wants us to be pleased with it. He wants us to enjoy life. And then he wants us to walk this out and give it away to everybody. He wants us to rub off on everybody we meet, including the people that are in front of me when I'm in traffic. Matthew 6:21, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. What's in my heart? I can change what's in my heart with a gratitude list. I can change what's in my heart. I can change the chemicals in my brain. I can change what's in my heart. I can change what's in my memory by having gratitude. Do I want to? I think that's the big question. My sponsor used to make me do a gratitude list, and he'd call me and ask me how it did. What's on it today? Anything new? He wanted me to have something new every day. And after a while, when I knew he was going to ask, I would just do the gratitude list. And it was just out of obedience first. And obedience isn't really a good reason to do the gratitude, but it's a good place to start. If that's what it takes to start, then go ahead and just do it out of obedience. Everything else is like that too. You have to stop drinking. I didn't want to stop drinking. You have to stop smoking. I didn't want to stop smoking. You have to stop fooling around. And I didn't want to stop fooling around. But then after I did for a while, I realized that life does get better. And I had no idea. I thought God wanted me to stop having all the fun things. That's not what he's doing at all. In Corinthians 9:11, you will be enriched in every way, to be generous in every way, which through us will produce thanksgiving to God. What he's saying is that one is if you stay in gratitude, other people's days get better. You'll pass it on without even trying, without even knowing. You'll pass it on. King David in Psalms 100, 4 and 5, enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him, bless his name, for the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, his faithfulness to generations. And the thing that stuck out to me on that is that the Lord is good. That's a thought that I don't drive around in traffic and say, oh, the Lord is good. And I don't look in the mirror and say, oh, the Lord is good. And when Kennedy runs around the corner, I'm focusing on how much I love her, and I don't think, the Lord is good. But if I stop and think about it, every one of those things that came to me, everything that brought me joy and brought me peace and brought a change in my attitude and a change in who I was, came from him. And every one of them came because God is good. God is loving, God is kind, he's tender. He loves us. He wants us to be able to walk this out. So what stops us from practicing gratitude.
Ego, self.
Ego, self.
Resentment.
What else?
Inconvenience.
Inconvenience.
Failed expectations.
Failed expectations.
Fear.
Fear.
Regret.
Regret.
The enemy.
The enemy.
Yeah.
So is he in charge of all the things that aren't from heaven? If God's in control of all the things that come that are good, is Satan in charge of all the things that are bad? Or are they in us and he triggers them? Dang it. I wanted to shuffle that one off on somebody else. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. When I was a little kid, my mom had a rule. I don't remember it, but I've heard the story enough to know that it's true. And if I stepped off the curb, I got a spanking. I lived downtown Beaverton, just a housing, typical housing unit. And I would walk out and lean out on that curb. And then I'd look back to see if she was looking. And if I couldn't see her looking, I'd go across the street because everything on the other street was grand. And I already knew everything about this side of the street, right? But I was always looking out for something that was more. And what I was looking for, and I didn't know it at the time, was to fill the void that God made me with. I'm 4 years old and I'm trying to fill the God hole with what the neighbors have. The lady right across the street had the biggest dandelion I'd ever seen in my life. That thing was this big around on top, and I wanted to go over and pick it. And I was looking. One of the guys across the street had a hockey stick on the inside of his garage, and whenever his garage door was open and he was outside, I would want to run over and talk to him. He had 2 baby twins, and one was named Michelle, and I don't remember what the other one was named, but I would look at them and I couldn't tell them apart, and I thought this was just amazing. I thought, how do you tell them apart? You'd have to cut one of their toes off in the hospital. Because how else would you do it? They looked exactly the same. And I thought, odd stuff like that would bring me happiness. I thought that what somebody else had might fulfill me. Because all I had was the same old family. All I had was the same TV, the same couch, and other people had stuff that was cool. What I didn't know is if I was born on the other side of the street, I'd want what I couldn't find happiness in the house I lived in. I think that gratitude is built so that we can come back to earth and just settle and allow God to tell us that we're enough. We have enough of the personality that he wanted to give us. We have enough of the gifts that he wanted to give us. The struggles that we've had have actually created the personality that we have, and some of the abilities that we have come through the struggle. I think that alcoholics and addicts, people that have gone through a little bit of hell like this in their lives, have more gratitude and have the ability to stay in gratitude better than people who haven't gone through a bit of hell in their lives. I think it kills some of that. I don't even know what it's called. I can't remember the word. So circumstances take us out of gratitude. My attitude can take me out of gratitude. Believing lies can take me out of gratitude. One of the ways that I tried to fix myself once it was introduced to me, and I was introduced to sex at about 6 or 7, just pornography, not sex, but it's sex, it's the same thing. What it did was made me think I needed that to be happy, whatever that was, more. And I don't know if you've had a pornography addiction like I have, but you can't get enough. It's just like alcohol, only worse. These days, click, 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 and you can go through 64 pages of pictures in just seconds. And in the old days, you had to find somebody that threw their magazine out and then sneak it and hide it under your mattress. And when I was introduced to that, it made me feel guilty and ashamed of myself and enlightened and desiring instantly. I wanted more. I was turned off by what I saw, and I wanted more of it immediately. And it caused a conflict in me. Alcohol does the same thing. When we know what's right and we can't do it, there's conflict. When I want to turn my will over, my life and my will over to God, and I can do it for 15 minutes, 15 days, whatever it is, and then I step over that line, I'm in conflict again. So Jesus came to kill that conflict, to put that conflict to rest. And yet, when I revitalize it again by stepping over that line again, by going across the street to try to fulfill something that really is an inside job, I separate myself from God. I separate myself from the power of the Spirit, from the love, from the discernment, from joy, from peace, from grace, from happiness. And then I know that I'm supposed to act like a Christian, so I put on an act. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the only way to get back is through forgiveness. The only way to do that is to ask for it. He doesn't not go door to door, knocking on doors saying, hey, anybody in there need forgiveness? We have to come to him. He's knocking all the time, right? Jesus is. But we have to come and open the door. As we ponder gratitude, we can start with eyeballs, ears, teeth, a warm coat, fluffy socks. But God says all good things come from above, meaning heaven, meaning him. Right? So gratitude becomes worship and praise when we recognize it's him that we're praising on the good things that he's given us. Then gratitude becomes praise. And he inhabits his praise. Right? So gratitude brings God praise. Gratitude also brings God. And when you're walking in God and he's walking in you, then you feel grateful. So it rolls and gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more that you pursue it. As he inhabits his praise, we actually open the part of ourselves that he designed to be filled with himself. We're supposed to be a vessel, and we're supposed to fill it with the things that he makes. So if that's what he wants, and we begin to agree with it, then we're moved closer to true freedom. So actually, gratitude brings freedom. Freedom to be who he made you to be, to live the way he made you to live, to honor him, to worship him, to feel great, to rub off on people. I believe that gratitude brings freedom. I'll say a couple more things and then I'll get out of here. There are 4 A's of gratitude: appreciation, approval, admiration, and attention. If we focus on those 4 things and we're thinking about God, we'll end up in gratitude. Appreciation, approval, admiration, and attention. The opposite of those, unappreciated, disapproval, loath or abhorring, and unattentive. If you focus on those things, you don't have enough. Whatever it is you got, you don't have enough. You never will have enough. So something about having the positive attitude, choosing to have a positive attitude, choosing to act out in gratitude will bring you the very things that cause gratitude to work even better in your life. So it's hard to start it a little bit, but once you get that engine running, you can mow the yard. You know what I mean? So why did God create man? And I came up with this because I felt like this is probably the biggest block to letting God in. What the heck are we here for? It almost feels like sometimes when you're caught in a big addiction that he wants you to suffer. Anybody felt like that at all? Anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Besides me? It almost feels like he's looking down his nose at me saying, okay, you didn't get it right, suffer. He created us for this, so that we could share in his overflowing. He created us so we could share in his overflowing love, grace, goodness. He created us so we could reflect his image. He created us so we could exercise dominion. He created us so we could serve and glorify God. He's created us to enjoy creation. He created us to participate in redemption. And he created us to fulfill a unique calling. And you're doing it. It's part of being here tonight. In Ephesians 2:10, you know this one. For we are all God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. And probably one of his most fun ones is doing a gratitude list. Because there's no downside. It doesn't cost you anything. And it gives you everything. Because it reminds you of who he is, it reminds you of why you're here, and it reminds you of what you're doing here. It changes everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Guys are
Dave.
going out